Hello students, how are you? So in the last video we discussed some of the cell organelles that were endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, ribosomes and lysosomes. Okay, we discussed about their structures and their functions. Okay, so I would just recommend that please learn their functions because it is very important. Okay, so today the next cell organelle that we are going to discuss is mitochondria. Okay, so shall we start, student? Mitochondria, it is a small rod shaped organelle. Okay, it is a small rod shaped organelle. Second point is double membranous structure with outer membrane being smooth and porous, means it has pores and it is smooth, whereas inner membrane is being thrown out into a number of folds called cristae. Now you can look at the figure. The inner membrane is having folds and that folds are called cristae. Getting it? So very important, this point is that it is a double membranous structure. And what is the difference? That outer membrane is smooth and porous, whereas the inner membrane is being thrown into a number of folds called cristae. Getting it? The next point, they contain their own DNA and ribosomes. Very important point. The mitochondria has its own DNA as well as ribosomes, and I told you when we were studying and when I told you about ribosomes that they make proteins. So therefore mitochondria are able to make some of their own proteins. Getting it? Why they are able to make their own proteins? Because they have their own ribosomes. Okay, so this was about the structure of mitochondria. Now let's take a look at its functions. Okay, the first and the very important function is that mitochondria is known as powerhouse of the cell. Getting it? It is known as the powerhouse of the cell. Why it is known as the powerhouse cell? Because energy required for various chemical activities needed for life is released by mitochondria in the form of ATP, and ATP is adenosine triphosphate. Okay, so it is known as the powerhouse of the cell because it provides energy for the various processes or various activities needed for life. ATP is known as energy currency of the cell. The body uses energy stored in ATP for making new chemical compounds and for mechanical work. Okay, so means basically what the energy is in the form of ATP. It is stored in the ATP, and afterwards when it is needed, then it is used for making new chemical compounds or for any mechanical work. Okay, so the question is generally asked, why the mitochondria are known as powerhouse of the cell? So the answer becomes that energy required for various chemical activities needed for life is released by mitochondria. Okay, so students, it becomes one of the most important cell organelle because you know every work is done with the help of energy. You need energy for whichever work. We get energy from food, and then with the help of that energy our other system works. Okay, so this becomes an important organelle. Okay, and another important question related to mitochondria is related to the folds. It asked why or what is the function of the folds of the inner membrane. So as we know, you have studied in digestive system in earlier class that the small intestine has small finger like projections. There are also folds, that is villi. So what does it do? It increases the surface area, and similarly these folds increase the surface area for ATP generating chemical reactions, because for producing ATP there are various chemical reactions that are taking place. Okay, so this is again an important question. What is the function of the folds of the inner membrane? It increases the surface area. Getting it? So I hope mitochondria, the structure of mitochondria and its functions are clear to all of you. So shall we move on to the next one? Okay, the next cell organelle that we have to discuss is plastid. Okay, a very important one. The first point, look at the first point, that it is present only in plant cell and absent in animal cell. Okay, second is it is usually spherical or discoidal shaped and double membrane bound organelle. it is related to the shape. Either it will be spherical or it will be discoidal in shape, disc shape. Okay. Third is, like mitochondria, they also have their own DNA and ribosomes. Okay. There is a question given in the NCERT in text question, page number 65, that can you name the two organelles we have studied that contain their own genetic material? Now I hope that you know the name of the two cell organelles. Okay. Like mitochondria, they also have their own DNA and ribosomes. What is the genetic material? DNA. Okay. And the next point is, internal organization of plastid consists of numerous membrane layers, means many layers are present that are embedded in material called stroma, that are fit in the material called stroma. Numerous means there are many layers. There are many layers of the membrane that are fit in or that are arranged in the material that is known as stroma. Okay. So I hope the structure or related to plastid, the basic points of the plastids are clear to you. So now the plastids are of three types. Okay, and these are chloroplast, chromoplast, and leucoplast. First of all, chloroplast, a green colored plastid containing chlorophyll. Very important. If it contains chlorophyll, then definitely you can understand the function, that is to manufacture food by the process of photosynthesis. Okay. So these are green colored plastids containing chlorophyll that helps in manufacture of food. Second one is chromoplast. Chromoplast are colorful plastid. Now colorful plastid means they will impart various colors to the flowers, fruits, etc. Okay. What is the importance of imparting color? That impart colors to the flower to attract insects for pollination. Okay. You know, pollination is very important for the continuation of generation. Third one is the leucoplast. Leucoplast are the colorless plastid, and they store food such as starch, oils, and protein granules. Okay, so these are the three types of plastid: chloroplast, chromoplast, and leucoplast. If asked about the function of the plastid, then you can write either they help in manufacture of food, or you can say that imparts color for and that attract insects for pollination, or you can write that it stores food in the form of starch, oils, and protein granules. Okay. Now we have studied two cell organelles which contains their own DNA and ribosome. Sorry. Okay. They contain their own DNA and ribosome. These are plastid and mitochondria. So means that they have their own genetic material, and they can also synthesize some of their own proteins that is needed for them to work. So these are the two, plastids and mitochondria, that contain their own genetic material. What is genetic material? That is the DNA. Okay. And ribosomes, they helps to synthesize proteins that are helpful for them. Okay. So students, I hope mitochondria and plastids are clear to you. So now let's start another cell organelle, and this is the last one, that is vacuole. Okay. Shall we start? So the first point, vacuoles are membrane bound organelles, and its membrane is called tonoplast. Okay, very important point. These are membrane bound organelles and the membrane is called tonoplast. And remember, in some books or if you search on the internet, then the membrane is also written as vacuolar membrane. Okay, so don't need to worry. Sometimes it is called, sometimes it is written in some books. So the membrane is called tonoplast, or it can be said as vacuolar membrane. Okay. Second point, very important one. In plant cells, the vacuoles are large and permanent, but in animal cells, vacuoles are small in size and temporary. Means, if temporary means they can be present or they may be absent in animal cell, but in plant cells they are permanent, means they will be present. So this may be a difference between a plant cell and animal cell that we will study further. Okay. In plant cells, vacuoles are large and permanent, and in animal cells, vacuoles are small in size and temporary. Now third is, in plant cell, it may occupy 50 to 90% of the cell volume. I just told you in the previous point that vacuoles are large and permanent in plant cells. So how large they can be? They can occupy up to 50% to 90% of the cell volume, means they are very large. And because of this, if they are occupying almost 60, 70, 80% of the cell volume, then what they do, they shift the nucleus that is in the center towards the plasma membrane. So in such cells, the nucleus is not in the center. Getting it? Why? Because of the size of the vacuole. Sometimes the vacuole is so large that it shifts this nucleus and other cell organelles towards the plasma membrane. Okay, so it may occupy 50 to 90% of the cell volume. Next one is, in plant cell, vacuoles are full of cell sap and provide turgidity and rigidity to the cells. Means different water and sometimes waste materials, sometimes useful materials are also stored in the cell sap, so it gives a shape to the cell because it stores some cell sap. Okay, so it provides turgidity and rigidity to the cell. See the next one. Many substances of importance in life of plant cell are stored in vacuoles that include amino acid, sugars, various organic acids and some proteins. See, these all are important. They are somewhere or other they are used in the body, okay, in some of the processes. So that's why it is saying many substances of importance in life of plant cells are stored. Next one, in some unicellular organism, specialized vacuoles help in expelling excess water and some waste from the cell. What I said, they may store useful substance also, and they may store substance that are not useful to the cell, so they expel it out of the cell. Getting it? So sometimes if it asks what is the function of the vacuole, then you can say that is to store some useful and some not useful substance in the cell, and also it provides turgidity and rigidity to the cell. Okay, the important thing about vacuole to remember is that it is a membrane bound organelle, and the membrane of the vacuole is called tonoplast. Okay, in plant cells vacuoles are large and permanent, and in animal cell vacuoles are small in size and temporary. I hope it is clear. Getting everyone? Okay. So I hope students all the cell organelles are clear to you. The important cell organelle that we have discussed. Okay, please learn them because the functions are asked in the question paper. Okay, and their important properties are also very important. Okay, sometimes the property is given and it is asked which cell organelle is it. Okay, so please learn them. Now let's move to the next topic, and maybe it is the last topic of this chapter, that is a difference between animal cell and plant cell. See, we have studied this difference between animal cell and plant cell in class 8th also. Okay, so we will take a quick look at this. First of all, animal cell, they are generally small in size, and plant cell, they are larger than animal cell, means in comparison. Okay, generally, not always, generally small in size animal cell, and plant cell are larger than animal cell. Second, the most important one, cell wall is absent and the cell wall is present in the plant cell. Getting it? It is important. Third one, we just were talking about a cell organelle, that is plastid. So we at the first point told you that plastid are present only in the plant cells. So this becomes the difference. Plastid are absent in animal cell, and either plastid are present in plant cell. Okay. Fourth point, vacuoles are many, small and temporary. Okay, they are small size vacuoles and they are temporary, means they may be present or they may be absent. Now either into plant cell, they have a permanent and the large vacuole. We have discussed it. Okay, the last point is they have centrosome and centriole, and the plant cell lacks centrosome and centriole. So you just need to remember the function of the centriole, that it helps in the cell division. Okay, so it is present in the animal cell and absent in the plant cell. Getting it? So I hope the difference was clear. Now each cell thus acquires its structure and ability to function because of organization of its membrane and organelles in specific ways. I told you that these organelles, different organelles in a complex cell work in a coordinated manner. That's why they help the cell to perform in a specific way. Okay, the cell thus has a basic structural organization, and this helps the cell to perform function like respiration, obtaining nutrition and clearing of waste material, etc. Why? Because these all the organelles are arranged in a specific way. They are functioning in a coordinated manner, all the cell organelles. Okay, whatever the waste material from all the cell organelle goes into the vacuole, and then the vacuole expelled it out of the cell. So these, like this function, all other functions are also coordinated. Okay, like mitochondria is producing energy, now that energy used by others organelles on the whole cell for its basic functions. Okay, so thus the cell is a fundamental structural unit of living organism. It is also basic functional unit of life. So I hope it is clear. When we started the chapter, we told you, we were discussing that cell is a structural and functional unit of life. Why? Because of this, because its structure and ability to function of organization, because of organization of its membrane and organelle in specific ways. They are arranged in a particular way, in a fixed way, and they are functioning in the coordinated manner. So this helps the cell to perform function. Okay, so I hope it is clear to all of you. So this was the chapter for you, the fundamental unit of life. Okay, students, there are certain points given at the end, page number 66 of the NCERT. I am reading it out to you. Already we have discussed them. Okay, so you also keep the NCERT with you, because there are some important points. Okay, the first one says the fundamental organizational unit of life is cell. We have discussed it. Second says cells are enclosed by a plasma membrane composed of lipids and proteins. I hope you all have opened the NCERT. Okay, I am reading page number 66, what you have learned. The fundamental organization of the unit of the cell is the cell. Second is cell are enclosed by a plasma membrane composed of lipids and proteins. This also we have discussed when we were studying plasma membrane, cell membrane. Third, the cell membrane is an active part of the cell. It regulates the movement of materials between the ordered interior of the cell and the outer environment. Means the material that had to be transferred from inside to the outside of the cell, or outside to the inside. Okay, vice versa is also correct. Next point says, in plant cells, a cell wall composed mainly of cellulose is located outside the cell membrane. So cell wall is present in plant cell, we just discussed it. Next, the presence of cell wall enables the cells of plants, fungi, bacteria to exist in hypotonic media without bursting. Okay, so cell, it protects the cell wall. We have discussed it. Next point is, the nucleus in eukaryotes is separated from the cytoplasm by double layered membrane, and it directs the life processes of the cell. Definitely it is the most important part of the cell, the nucleus. It is a double membrane, I told you, and there are certain pores also. Nuclear envelope, the covering is nuclear envelope, and there are certain pores called nuclear pores. Okay, next is the endoplasmic reticulum, ER, functions both as a passageway for intracellular transport and as manufacturing surface. Okay, because it is in the form of networks, I told you, so it functions both as a passageway for intracellular transport, means if some substance are to be transported inside the cell from nucleus to outside into the cytoplasm, etc. Okay, and for the manufacturing surface, I told you RER helps in the production of proteins. Okay, and SER for the lipids. Next one, the Golgi apparatus consists of stacks of membrane-bound vesicles that function in storage, modification, and packaging of the substance manufactured in the cell. The different substance that are manufactured in the cell, they are modified and packaged, means okay, they are given the final form into the Golgi apparatus. Next one is, most plant cells have large membranous organelle called plastid. Most plant cells, which are of two types, chromoplast and leucoplast. Okay, chloroplast is also one. The chromoplast contain chlorophyll are called chloroplast. So we have given they come under basically chromoplast, but we studied them differently with chloroplast. Okay, so chloroplast that contain chlorophyll, green color pigment, and other colors are for chromoplast. And I told you the next one, primary function of leucoplast is storage. They store protein granules, oil, starch, etc. Next point, most mature plant cells have a large central vacuole that helps to maintain turgidity of the cell and stores important substance including waste. Okay, I hope this point is also clear. And the last point is, prokaryotic cells have no membrane-bound organelles. Their chromosomes are composed of only nucleic acid, and they have only very small ribosomes as organelles. Okay, so students, this is the end of the chapter fundamental unit of life. Revise it, learn it, very important topics, because mainly you have to learn the concepts that are given in this chapter, whatever the functions of different organelles and other things, you have to learn it. Okay, so revise it and learn it properly. Do the question answer that are given in the NCERT, and if you have some other books also, then try the question answers of from them also. Okay, and stay inside your house, keep studying. We will be starting the next chapter from the next video. Okay, so thank you very much.